My coming out story went a little something like this. It's not so much a story you could tell at bedtime or make a movie about. It's more a journey of self-discovery of my own identity and my struggle to accept my authentic self. I grew up in a small town in South Dakota. I think the population was around 60,000 people at that time. I'm an only child. My mom was a teacher. My dad worked for the DOT. I feel like I had a relatively stereotypical childhood. I had great parents. I definitely didn't know how good I had it as a kid. I feel like I was happy as a child. I always knew that I felt different. I just didn't quite belong, but I didn't know what being gay was when I was young. It was the late 80s, early 90s, and I was in a small town in the Midwest. There weren't visible LGBT people openly out in public anywhere near my environment. My parents were relatively strict with who I hung out with, what I read, what I watched on TV. So I never knew how I was different. I just knew that I wasn't quite the same as my friends. I remember the first couple times that I kissed girls and how amazing it was for me. And then my peers informed me that it's normal for girls to experiment with each other during puberty. My environment while growing up was just a constant barrage of heteronormativity, of society telling me that I needed to grow up and go to college and find a man and get married and have babies. My childhood consisted of me trying to adjust my thinking to become who society expected me to be, to try and be like my friends, to have crushes on boys like them, to have my first real kiss with a boy, right? And have sleepovers and gush about boys. As a kid, all I ever wanted was to fit in. Gosh, that makes me sad, even saying it now. High school was the hardest time for me. I've never really been a follower, which in high school pretty much marks you for death. I also always had guy friends for the most part, and now I was expected to date them and not be friends with them. I didn't understand the hierarchy of high school. I thought everyone was the same. I struggled to find authentic female friends. And I felt like I was an alien, to be honest. I didn't feel like anyone was like me. I felt completely alone. I struggled with depression, which turned to self-harm. Now, while my entire high school career was relatively unpleasant, I did find one thing that helped me make it through: drama club. Now, as stereotypes and generalizations go, the queers do tend to drift towards the theater. I feel like the reasoning there is pretty self-explanatory. You can be anyone in the theater, and it's okay. You could be quiet or loud or queer or straight or weird or average. It was the one place where diversity and uniqueness were not only welcomed, but encouraged. This is where I found costume design and doing hair. I did hair for some plays, I did homecoming, proms. I even colored me and my friends' hair fun, crazy colors. It's when I first realized how much I loved doing hair and first thought about beauty school. Now, fast forward to 2005, I had just quit a 4-year university, deeming the fact that I never wanted to go to class as evidence enough that maybe traditional schooling just wasn't in the cards for me. I was out on Christmas night at a bar, and I noticed a girl across the pool table who actually turned out being my first girlfriend. Before her, I had never been honest with myself about what I truly felt inside. I had never been vocal or communicative with my friends, and definitely not my family, about my romantic feelings towards women. I'd been dating men and telling myself that that's what I was supposed to be doing because that's what everyone else was doing. This is when I first came out. I'd love to have an amazing musical movie montage here about how accepting my family and friends were. However, that wouldn't be the truth. My best friend at the time was okay with me coming out, but she didn't believe in same-sex marriage because the Bible says that marriage was only between a man and a woman. And at this time, I agreed with her. Having grown up in a somewhat religious household, my mom wasn't totally understanding or accepting. My dad was supportive, but my parents really wanted me to avoid having to go through the struggles that queer people face within our society, especially back then. Now, with that being said, I never doubted my parents' love for me, ever. I knew that I was safe in my house. I was never going to be disowned or kicked out. They just didn't understand why I couldn't choose to ignore those feelings, to avoid the sin, so to speak. It hurt. My mom and I were close, and I felt like I had failed her somehow, that something was wrong with me. She wrote me a letter that I keep to this day to help remind me of how far we've come as a family. I enrolled in the Veda Institute Denver in 2007. Now, this is another moment where I would love to say it was amazing and I walked through those doors and I truly found my home and identity, but unfortunately I can't. My cosmetology experience was much like that of my high school experience. It was cliquey and elitist, where again, I felt like I didn't belong, that no one felt like me. I was older than 75% of the students, and the only visibly relevant queer people were about 5 gay men. However, I knew I had found my career, and all I had to do was finish that 1 year. I knew hair was my passion. I loved everything that I could do with hair, about how with hair you could change someone's entire outlook and feeling about themselves just by changing one thing. How it made me feel to be able to give that gift to someone else. It took me about 6 years of floating around in this industry before I felt like I had found my niche. When I found salon education and became a technical trainer is when I really realized this is where you belong. And ironically enough, I went to that 4-year university for education as well, so clearly it was the path for me. I started attending hair shows, meeting all the people I could. I wanted to network with as many people as possible in this industry. I was in love with education. I wanted to know everything and be able to do everything with hair. I met industry icons, all types of LGBT fam, and I said yes to every single opportunity that came my way. Now, when I started working with industry legend Charlie Price is really when I started to see what this industry could hold for me. I found my hair fan, or deaf cult, as we like to call ourselves. If Charlie's watching this, he literally just cringed because I said hair fam. I became a beauty underground artist, and that allowed me to work Denver Fashion Week, NAHA, ICE, IBS New York, the International Hairstyling Awards in Madrid, and many others. It was within this darkly inappropriate and unapologetic group of individuals that I truly found my own identity. For the past 5 years or so, I've never been so grateful to be a part of this industry. No matter where I'm working within the trade, I can always find my LGBT community. I've met more queer strangers that treat me like family than I can count. If you're a queer person and you're thinking about joining or wanting to join this amazing industry, do it. Our rainbow family is everywhere, and we are all in this together. We champion and support each other, and you will never feel alone again. It's 2020, and this is the most visible our community has ever been. I truly believe that there is room for everyone in this industry wherever they desire to be. It's kind of funny how once one thing in your life figures itself out, or you figure out one thing in your life, that everything else just kind of falls into place. I met the love of my life at a lesbian happy hour. At the time, I was in a long-term relationship with another girl, but life happens, and a little over a year later, I found myself single and out on New Year's Eve with the same friend. She kissed me at midnight, and I've never been single again. This was the first person that I'd ever truly let in, the first person I shared all parts of myself with, the good and the bad. They also shared parts of their self with me, who they truly were on the inside. 5 months later, my girlfriend was my fiance, and 3 months later, my fiance became my husband. I'm grateful both my partner and I represent different parts of the LGBTQIA+ community. I've learned more about my own identity from him. I've learned to be more vulnerable and open within the community. I'm grateful for the family that we've chosen that supports us and our individual identities. My parents are amazing. They've gone on their own journey of self-discovery, and it's the one of having and loving a queer child. They found a pastor who supports the evolution of their beliefs, one that embraces us all as the humans we are, and interprets the Bible in a way to promote love rather than bigotry and hate. They attend Pride with me and my partner, fight for equality in my home state for the entire community, and embrace any and all people, queer or straight, with nothing but love and respect. I've never been so grateful to have such amazingly supportive parents. Parents that love my queer family like their own, invite the orphan queers to holidays, and that have evolved in their way of thinking as I have. So happy Pride, everyone. Remember, you're not alone. We're all in this together. Even if you feel like that right now, it gets better. Our community will always be here. in support of all of us. My name is Danielle Starr, and this is the face of queer beauty. If you or someone you know identifies as a transgender or non-binary person and struggles with thoughts of self-harm or suicide, please know that the Trans Lifeline is there to support you 24/7. All operators are transgender or non-binary. Please call 1-877-565-8860 or log on to www.translifeline.org. You deserve immediate help. Please reach out.